welcome to the Sportfish Spring Spectacular. I'm Simon Gawesworth and I'm here, Hobby Lake at Sportfish, telling you a few things about some RIO stuff that's coming out that you might very well be interested in. Some of the new stuff, some of the upgrades, and this one I'd like particularly to talk about is our Stillwater floater. What a good line. It does what it says. It's a Stillwater line that floats. And why is it different from the other lines we make at RIO? You may very well ask. I mean, there's a few specific things about this line that really make it a good line if you're a lake angler or a reservoir angler out in boats or fishing from the bank of a lake here. First thing, it's got a long head. It's one of the longest heads we have on any trout line at RIO. It's got a head of about 50 feet. I think that's excellent when you are fishing lakes and you're fishing dry flies or nymphs, because a good angler, really one of the differences between a good angler and an average angler is that when a fish rises in a lake, a good angler processes that very quickly, picks up whatever fly they've got, changes direction and drops the flies on that feeding fish. And you'll get a lot more fish when you do that rather than go, oh look, there's a fish rising, and you're carrying on fishing your buzzers or stripping your lures. That's not very effective. So why the long head is good is because you might have just made a beautiful cast, the line and flies land, and they start one retrieve and a fish rises. Well, with a long head line like this, you can just pick it straight up, one cast, and you cover that fish very quickly. With a short head line, lines that have got a much shorter head, 50 feet, as I said, this one, 35 feet, 40 feet, something like that, you might have to strip some running line in, pick it up, and then shoot it back out again. So it's a very good line for covering rising fish. Excellent. It's also a line designed with a short front taper, really short front taper, a couple of feet of front taper and a couple of feet of a high vis tip. And that short front taper is designed because some people might want to fish the bung with a bunch of buzzers underneath it. And when you fish something like a bung, there's a lot of air resistance in there and it gets caught when you're casting and doesn't turn over very well. So for that, you need a line with a short front taper. You need the mass of the fly line close to that mass of that. So it's designed as a really good line for throwing the bung. Excellent. It throws it without even though it's on there. So it's a really good little taper for that. I like this line for a couple of things. As I said, one, I love this high float tip, this very, very visible high float tip. And there's a couple of reasons. One, if you're a good angler and you're boating or even on the shore, when you've retrieved your nymphs or you're stripped your streamers in or your buzzers and you finish and you start to lift up the rod and you never just cast, you lift up the rod and you watch your line and you just hang it for a few seconds before you make a cast. When you're watching, this bright orange tip is very, very visible. So it's really easy for you to focus on and see. And what we're looking for is this line, just a twitch like that, and there's a fish on the other end. So it's a thing that makes you concentrate. And also another good thing about this concentration point, if you like to call it that, is when you're fishing the static buzzer or static nymph. In other words, you chuck out your team of nymphs and buzzers and you're hardly retrieving. You're just letting them drop down and hang under that line tip. Again, that bright orange tip is a very good visual aid. And you focus it, watch it, and you can just see it move when the fish grabs it. Great focus point. So I love the high colored tip on this Stillwater floater. And then the last thing that it has, which might sound really odd if you're a dedicated Stillwater angler, it has a hang marker here, something like 20 feet from the front end, a little sleeve. And that's a really good tool in intermediates and sinking lines. A lot of people utilize them in that because they know when to stop stripping and start lifting for the hang. With a floating one, maybe not so. But you know, I've found when I'm fishing, I'm kind of watching for fish and just retrieving and kind of waiting for the feel. I'm not really concentrating on how much line I've got until I suddenly feel a hang marker in my fingers. And then I know, oh, perfect, that's the time to stop retrieving, lift and fish the hang, watch that orange tip, nothing's taken it, make a roll cast, pop it out and shoot it. So that is the elite Stillwater floater from RIO, and you know exactly where you can get it, right here from Sportfish.